Welcome to the BEEVisio training. You have inserted the text block, filled in the header. We want to open a second page where we'll turn it into a construction drawing. There are several ways to do this. I can either right-click here to make a copy of the sheet, or I can add a new drawing sheet here. If possible, please select the same drawing sheet size. I now have drawing sheet 2. I can also use these quick commands here again to select the main views I want. To start with, I'd just create an isometric view to adjust the pipes, and then, in the second view, I can add dimensions. Let's bring the rendering back in. Let's move it over there. I can now, as I showed earlier, either without a base and without a container. That's one option. But I can also take it a step further and say I'll just make pipes, so that at the start I just have an overview of the pipes. I can also resize the view to see if I want to make it even bigger. Now I can add my bill of materials as an extension. The bill of materials is positioned. Ideally, I can then select DE using the bill of materials. I'm selecting my pipes only configuration so that the bill of materials is identical to the view in my drawing. And now I can quite easily say that, using my quick access bar up here, I'll add my part number. To do this, I simply click on the pipes. At some point, you'll see a slightly smaller green border. For the long products that we have in the drawing, the way it works is that the position number, which is inside the circle at the top, the length is exactly the same as that below the line. So that refers to the pipe with position number 1. You'll find that here too. It has a length of 1230 millimeters. But you don't necessarily need the parts list for that. Instead, you can work out the length. I'll just click all the pipes out. That's the bottom bar, the cross pipes. I don't necessarily have to pull out every single pipes because a lot of things are simply self-explanatory. If the structure is always the same width, and we're assuming that's the case, then all the cross pipes are the same size too. You can see position number 4 is always the same length. That's why I'm going to do these two again now. I won't be tightening the other pipes any further. I can now position the vertical pipe across, horizontal pipe the diagonal. These are the long goods again. If I now also increase the position number for components, increase the item number, then it will be like this. That, only a position number appears here with a question mark below the line. This is because the component has no length attribute. That's why the program displays a question mark. It's simply down to the way the program works. But we also have the option here to neatly extract the joints. we can now switch to the detail view, if that's what you'd like. I'll just pick out a few basic items now, where they're needed. Many things keep happening over and over again. The individual joints is the same in everyone. Now I'll take a closer look. To do this, I can select View and Details. I'll click here in the middle of my view, drag my circle a bit bigger, and then, when I click on it, I'll have a close-up view. This view, I can now optimize it by dragging the edges with the left mouse button. I'll drag my window upwards. This is now my detailed view. I can render it cleanly over the shaded representation over here. This is now view D. I can do this by selecting the properties of the window and telling it to please adopt my name. Then it also shows me the details. And now I can also assign a position number to this detail. I can do that. I can zoom in and zoom out to the point where I say, I'd like an explanation of the impact sleeve here. I can display my double joints here. Or, let's have a look at this again. That's position number 5 with GA2S. In other words, our corner joints. Yes, that way I can clearly show almost everything on the construction drawing in detail. I can go out now. In the next steps, we'll add views to the drawing sheet in order to insert a clear dimension. To do this, I'll use the two views. I'm doing the rendering. I'll just let it run without a container. I'll just pop one in. I haven't done the rendering yet. We'll see that in a moment. I'll render the views later. The scale is actually a bit too large. I can adjust that again. I can also apply my own scaling if I find the view isn't quite right. I'll do the rendering on this one again as well. I'm taking a look at the view. In the construction drawing, we have a slightly different structure to that used for functional dimensioning, as shown on the first page. In this drawing, we ensure that we always have clear dimensions from joints to joints. For the fitter, this isn't necessarily all that important, and at the start they don't have a floor reference point where I can say, from the floor up to this height, we have an exact measurement. Instead, they only ever have clamp to clamp measurements. That's why we always have measurements from joints to joints or from clamp to clamp. In this case, that means I'll zoom in a bit more. Now let's look at the side view again. I don't actually need to enter any dimensions down here. If I did, it would only be a check dimension, because the length of the pipe determines the exact measurement. Here it would be important, for example, for me to enter the dimensions, how wide the distance between two joints needs to be. I'll just place it right on the edge. If I want to align a measurement exactly with the old one, I simply click on the old measurement and it snaps exactly onto the line. Now I'll finish this line. I can already see that not everything went perfectly for me. That means we're not quite right in the middle, but never mind. We don't need to make any major changes just for the sake of 6 millimeters. Of course, I could just do the others again now, but they'll be the same size because we've just copied them over. So there's no need to carry on doing that. I'd go over there now, take a vertical measurement, and then move from joints clamp to joints clamp. I'll place my measurements. I'm deliberately just taking the cross pipes, and now I can also add the measurement for the diagonal at a later stage. It may be that I always fit the diagonal braces first and only then the cross pipes. Or it might be the other way around, because I might decide to fit the cross pipes first and then the diagonal braces at the end. That's why, with this method, I have all the options. I can enter a check dimension again and say, my joints is 130 millimeters high up to here. It's important during assembly, when I clamp the joints onto the pipes here, I always make sure to clamp them only onto the outer surfaces and not onto the drive sleeve. When assembling, it's usually helpful to first just drive the drive sleeve into the pipes without fitting the wheels, and only when the assembly is almost complete can I fit the wheels in. That way, the frame is a bit sturdier without the wheels at the start, and only once the wheels are in place can I finish the frame, attach the roll rails, then the structure would already be finished during assembly. Right, now we've got a complete overview. I think with a measurement like that, where I've marked it, you can set up the entrance structure quite easily. Now that we've drawn up the drawings, the next step would be to save the drawing sheet as a PDF file. To do this, we also have the Export Drawing Sheet button up here in the Quick Access toolbar. If I left click on it, then my File Explorer pops up and I can save it. First of all, I need to select PDF as the file format at the bottom. Overwrite any existing PDFs or save these as new files. Next, a window like this usually pops up here. Set the image resolution to 300 and leave the image quality as it is. Click OK to confirm everything. The next window that appears is the one for exporting the page. I often bring this window into view, as it can sometimes appear on the second monitor. We generally always use custom view creation. It's quicker, works perfectly well, and provides sufficient quality. Depending on the size of the drawings, generating the PDF takes 2, 3, or even 10 seconds. We've just saved both sheets and can be viewed as PDFs. Thank you for watching and see you in the next BEEVisio training session.